Hey guys, John Rettinger here with a review for you of the Amazon Kindle 2. So during my software overview of the Amazon Kindle 2, I walked you through the software, even showed you some tips and tricks. This review is mostly going to be me talking about the device and the features that I like and don't like about it. To help augment that, I'll be putting some pictures behind me that should help show you guys what I'm talking about. So first, let's get to reading. Since this is an ebook reader, meaning it's meant to be able to read off of. The screen is actually quite nice and very easy to read from. I tried reading side by side to this to a standard hardcover book and really noticed little to no difference. So reading is very easy on the eyes. It's a non-reflective screen, but it's also not backlit, so I don't think you're going to be able to read this at night without the use of a light. Think of it as just an electronic book. Anything you can do with a book, you can do with this. Anything you can't do with a book, most likely you're not going to be able to do with this device. Something to keep in mind. The backlight would also be a drain on battery, and since we're on the topic of battery power, let me tell you how I did on battery. With a full charge, and with Sprint's 3G WhisperNet on all the time, I got 10 days of battery life out of it, and that's with pretty heavy reading. And I was actually very impressed, and I still had more battery life when I started charging it, but I was going on a trip, so I wanted to go with a full charge. Battery life is stupendous on this device, and hats off have to go to Amazon and the engineers who put this together, because it's absolutely fantastic. Navigation. Some of the issues that people had with the first Amazon Kindle was that the next page button was too large. So when you picked up the book and tried to hold it, you'd accidentally hit the next page. That has been fixed with this version. So when you hold the book, your actually hands rest very nicely on it, and you don't accidentally push the page. One thing of note that I really like what Amazon did was you can't click the next page button by hitting the outside of it. You actually have to push the inside in order to click, which is actually very nice. You can rest your hand here without worries of pushing the next page. So that was something that I was very happy to see. So one kind of quirk that I have with the device is the issue of navigation. It relies primarily on this 5-way D-pad. You can scroll up, down, left, right, and then push it in for that fifth direction. I think the Kindle would have really benefited from a scroll ball, similar to what's found in most Blackberries. They used a wheel in the previous version, but I think a ball would have made for much more fluid navigation. Pushing up and down on this little joystick can be cumbersome sometimes, and the e-ink does have a relatively slow refresh rate. So you push it, and oftentimes you're left waiting for notification to show that you actually have made a change in what you're looking to do. I think a ball would have made it much more fluid. You can actually scroll down to where you want it to be, and then wait for it to refresh. Something definitely to keep in mind. So the next thing that I want to talk about is the screen size. If you look at the Kindle 2, you notice there's a lot of real estate on here, and a lot of it's taken up by the keyboard. If I've ever seen a device crying out for a touchscreen, it's the Kindle 2. Look at this, well over a quarter, probably a third of the device taken up with a full QWERTY keyboard, which is very nice to have when you're searching, but 90 to 95% of the time, you're not searching, you're spending your time just reading. So it really is a poor use of space, I think. I'd like to see the next version, the Kindle 3, make use of some touchscreen e-ink technologies that we've seen from companies like Sony. Hopefully utilizing some sort of on-screen keyboard to really make the whole front of this device appear in e-ink. And that would make reading a lot easier and also less next page buttons. Certainly be something that I would look forward to and something that I would certainly recommend Amazon do. So one of the big questions that I got about the Kindle is why isn't it color? Is it hard to read not in color? And actually I prefer it in black and white, and I think that's one of the reasons Amazon designed it. Most people I think are on the same mindset as me, and let me explain why. First of all, you're reading a book, and reading a book, it's black and white print. Color is nice for pictures, but this is not meant to show pictures. While it certainly does show illustrations in the book, it does show it in just black and white in 16 shades of gray. Color also takes more battery, so you're going to sacrifice a lot of battery life to have color. Really, when you're just reading black and white text, there's not much of a reason for it. So I'm okay with not having a color screen, but again, a touchscreen really would augment this device, I think, quite perfectly. It's also a very cool looking device, and since it's only released in the US, a lot of people haven't seen anything like this. I was just recently in Canada for a friend's wedding, and I brought this on an airplane with me. And about 4 or 5 people, as I'm sitting there reading this, saying, "What is that?" That's some sort of, they never did know what it was. They'd never seen an ebook reader before. I know there have been previous generations released by Sony and other companies, but they've never been that popular that people had seen them. Some people were very curious about what it was and what it did. And that was actually very kind of cool to be able to show it off and say, here's what an e-reader does, here's what it looks like, check it out, you try it for yourself. People came away very impressed, at least the Canadians did. They were looking for something like this that would work on one of their cell networks. So that was something that I was shocked at. I figured most people knew what an e-reader was. Evidently I was mistaken. So the next thing I want to talk about is the Kindle store. And I gotta say, the Kindle store is what makes this device. It's what makes it worth, in my mind, the $359, which is a very steep asking price. I was traveling. And while I was traveling, I was sitting there and thinking I was a little bit bored. My flight was delayed an hour. I'd kind of been reading a book I had on the Kindle, but I wanted to read something different. So I went on the Kindle store, I downloaded the newest issue of Newsweek and the newest issue of the LA Times. I was able to read them right on the device, and almost instantaneously. And things are so much cheaper. So you can get a newspaper issue for 25 cents, or you can subscribe to a full month of it for just $1.49 to $2, which is actually really nice. And the same price scheme actually translates over to magazines as well. Since the magazines aren't paying for the paper, and then the shipping and packaging of these magazines, you're only paying for the content. You actually get it for a much cheaper price. And that same thing also is true with books. All new releases that usually might cost you $25 to $30 in a regular bookstore generally run $9.99 here, which is actually quite nice. So if you are a heavy reader, you can offset the really big asking price of the device by the cost of books. Something to keep in mind. It does have a rudimentary web browser that I showed you guys during the software overview, but it's nothing fantastic. It's just something that's there for a cool experimental feature, they call it. Speaking of experimental features, the text-to-speech function is a novelty at best. It's nice to have, I suppose. I would never use it. It's certainly never going to replace an audiobook for me. It's that mechanical voice that keeps talking, and not something that I would think I would ever use. But if you do use it, you can take advantage of the 3.5mm headset jack on the top of the device. So one other thing that I'm talking about, as I'm showing you this, you'll notice that I'm showing you with the Kindle cover. The Kindle 2 no longer ships with a cover. And since the screen has no protection, this is actually the e-ink itself, the cover is something that's a must-have. So make sure you factor in an extra $30 for your purchase if you are looking at the Kindle 2. Size-wise, it's absolutely fantastic. I slid this right in a backpack and I was able to have 6 books, 2 magazines, and a newspaper all on it right inside. And it was really nice and very thin to have, and I actually really enjoyed reading from it. And speaking of enjoying reading from it, it also kind of makes reading fun. You realize that you're still reading, but also doing it on a device, kind of this cool and high-tech, definitely adds a new dimension to it. So if it is possible to make reading fun or more enjoyable for you, I think the Kindle definitely accomplishes that. So that's definitely something else to keep in mind. So overall, I've been very happy with the device. Build quality is strong. It does exactly what I expected it to do. I wasn't disappointed in any area. I did my research beforehand. I knew what it did and what it didn't do. Definitely, if you're looking to buy the Kindle, make sure you do your homework and you know what it does, so you're not disappointed. That being said, out of 5 stars, I'd really give the Kindle a solid 4.25 stars. A touchscreen really would have put it over to 5, and I think it would have been the perfect device. It makes use of its 2 gigabytes of memory very nicely and easily. You can store, I think they claim, over 1,500 books. You can view PDFs on it. It actually has an MP3 player as well. And also actually you can view Word documents. You can send them to a Kindle email address. It will convert it, and it'll put it right on the document for a charge of 10 cents, or put it right on the device rather. So I'm very happy with it. I'm enjoying it. I'm going to keep enjoying it, and it makes a very nice way to read. Hope you guys enjoyed. This is John Rettinger. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/John4Lakers for exclusive content, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.